When preparing to make this video, I had a thought, and so I had to do a little research on it. Indeed, I've been wearing the same two shirts for the last 3 days. Now, of course, I could have just gotten up and changed, but that's not how I roll. I roll like Tim Pool, since Tim Pool's worth $10 billion now, whatever the fuck he is. I roll like Tim Pool. I wear the same fucking beanie on my head for a month and a half. Can you imagine what that beanie of his smells like after a hot day in the fucking studio? And then it's the same beanie for a whole week. Probably goes outside and he's got like a swarm of flies chasing him. I'm wearing the same thing because I just threw this on so I can go outside and do some yard work after I'm done with this. So there you go. But I was feeling a little self-conscious. How you doing? It is the 28th day of January, 2023. It is bright and early on a Saturday. 8:22 in the morning. We're going to talk about Tyre Nichols. We're going to talk about Tyre Nichols, and we're going to talk about Benghazi, as you've probably gathered from the title of this video. You say, oh my God, Scott, how could you possibly make any kind of connection between those two? Well, give me a minute. You might be fucking surprised. As you know, some of you know, some of you don't. My previous video featured the fact that I will not be able to post this on YouTube. I won't be able to post anything on YouTube for 13 days now and counting, because they didn't like something I had to say about electronic voting machines in a video I posted on November 5th, 2022. So, that channel is about to go bye-bye. If there's anything you like on that channel, as I said before, by all means, download it. Do what you like with it. Let's just jump right into this, shall we? Sorry, it's Saturday morning. I'm still trying to get my thoughts collected. We're in the same clothes I've had for 3 days. What do you expect? Okay. In case of Tyre Nichols, I want to start off by saying, yes, the videos came out last night at 7 p.m. on a Friday. Seems like an odd choice, if you ask me. I mean, let's face it. Cops killing people, unarmed black people, in the majority of the cases, but unarmed people. Cops beating them, cops killing them, shooting them. Unfortunately, it is really not altogether that uncommon in this country. So it's also not that uncommon when they come back and go, ooh, the body cameras didn't work. Ooh, there was a camera up there on the fucking light post, but it wasn't recording. And that's what happens all the time. And the press never fucking question it. Never question it. Yeah, for some reason, Memphis PD decided all their body cameras worked. You can watch Tyre Nichols, young man, get beaten mercilessly by police officers in ultra high def, if you like, and as a bonus, they threw in the one from the fucking from the telephone pole as an added bonus. And they released it all 7 p.m. And they let everyone know it's going to be released 7 p.m. on a Friday night. Let me start off by saying this. Nothing in this video should be construed as not being extremely critical of the behavior of the police officers who were involved. Turns out 2 more officers have been put on suspension because they came along. A paramedic has been put on suspension because he didn't take action when he got there. Make no mistake. What the police did was wrong. It was excessive. It was beyond excessive. And it resulted in a young man dying. Now, that being said, did Tyree make mistakes? Clearly, he did. Tyree made the mistakes of youth. That was that and I say this having been somebody who's been arrested, who's gone to jail. I did a year at one point in time. I've seen police brutality up close and personal. I had to go from Charleston, South Carolina, back to fucking Harrisonburg to testify in a case involving police brutality, which I did. And then when I went back to Harrisonburg to go to school and I had the occasion to be arrested again, like a dumbass, I paid for that fucking civic duty that I thought that I had to fulfill by having the book thrown at me. But anyway, so what happened with Tyree was a case of just youthful indiscretion, but also panic. You come to understand that when the police show up and they're going to put you on the ground and put your hands behind your back, you just do it. It doesn't matter. You do it. Okay, yep, no problem, got it. You don't have to call them sir. You haven't got to suck up to them like fucking Amy Goodman did when she was fucking weeping because some 21-year-old dumbass was arresting her at a fucking, I think, a Republican convention or one of those fucking things. Oh, please, sir. Oh, you haven't got to turn into a fucking mush-faced fucking sycophant like she did. But you certainly, you comply. Why? Because you're not going to talk them out of it. You're not going home. Multiple times in the video, which I'm not going to show, you can watch it yourself. Multiple times in the video, the young man just kept saying, I just want to go home. And of course, he just wanted to go home. That's what you always want when you're being arrested. When you know you've got booking, you've got fucking jail, you got the goddamn white bread and cheese fucking bologna sandwiches. You got waiting in line for a fucking phone for your one phone call so you can call a loved one and say, with shame in your voice, I'm in jail. Can you help me the fuck out? You don't want that. You don't want to hear the door locking behind you. You don't want that sense of dread where you don't know if you're going to get lost in this system and end up being there 3, 4, 5 fucking days before they can get you out. You don't want people, not all COs, but many of them, with less than a high school fucking education, looking down on you and being in charge of your every fucking motion. You don't want that. You want to go home. Tyree wanted to go home. Understandable. And I say that as a person who has been in that situation, and all you want to do is go home. I get it. But you come to a point where you understand that you ain't going home, and you have to fucking commit to it. And your life is going to be different for a little while, and then someone's going to come get you out, and then your life's going to be different for a little while after that, and you may end up having to go to jail for a while, or you're certainly going to go to court. But as a young man, there's this finality to it, and this fear. Especially a young man who hasn't been there in the system before. All these fucking movies start running through your head, and you think you're going to be holding on to some big guy's fucking belt loop, washing his underwear with your fucking teeth, with your shirt tied around in a knot on your stomach. I get why he did what he did. However, to pretend he didn't do it is dishonest. And that is what is happening. You combine the media coverage with the fact that for some reason they decided to release these things at 7 p.m. on a Friday, 2 body cam footage videos, and the one from the fucking street lamp that had the whole fucking thing in glorious Technicolor. You combine all that, and you got to ask yourself, what the fuck are they doing? And the answer to that question is very disturbing. Let me show you a little bit of what I'm talking about, but you can probably find all this stuff yourself. Again, I'm not going to fucking show the video. You can find it. There's 1 million copies now. Every network showed them. So you watch them yourself. Here's CNN. To cope with the release of violent videos, manage stress, and know your limits. What are they saying to you? Avoid watching the video altogether. They don't want you to watch the video. They want you to listen to what you're being told. Listen to what you're being told. BBC says, oh, they changed that. They changed the fucking title. The title was that he hadn't been fucking... Look at this. They changed the title. Look over here. The video... Now the title says, video shows police beating and kicking Tyree while he was restrained. But if you look at my fucking history... Uh-oh. Where's BBC? Wow, that is... They changed the fucking... They totally changed the fucking title of the video, of the article. The article had stated that it was clear he didn't resist. That's the title that they had up on this article. Here it is. Here it is. I'm not making that shit up. They changed the fucking title. Officers were seen beating Tyree Nichols, 29, in the video January, from 7th January arrest, with no sign of him resisting. That was the title. And in fact, here's a headline from New York Times. No sign that Nichols fought back during Memphis beating. What you see in the video is two encounters. One when they're pulling him out of the car. For some reason, there's 3 police cars. They catch him at a stoplight, which is making the turn into down the road, and then if you go down about maybe 3 miles, you turn into the subdivision where his mother lives. So they got him about 3 miles away at a stoplight, about 8:30 in the evening on the 7th. For some reason, there's 3 fucking cop cars there. They get him out the car, and he's saying he just wants to go home. What has he done? He ain't done nothing. They yank him out of the car. They're already pissed. They've got weapons drawn. The video shows they have weapons drawn on him already. They don't do that for someone who's just changed lanes. They pull out weapons for specific fucking reasons, but they don't. They'll walk up to you. They'll pull you over. Now, maybe if he's refused to pull over, if he's been driving for a while because he just wants to go home, that would also explain why there were so many officers there. They don't typically cruise around in packs looking for someone to pull over because they changed lanes without giving a fucking signal. And then whip out their fucking pieces. Something had to have occurred prior to that to get 3 cop cars there and to have them get out of the car, draw their weapons on the fucking vehicle when they were 30 feet away from it, before they had any contact with him whatsoever. Whatever the case may be, again, he's a young man. Young men make mistakes. So, in the first part of the video, they keep telling him, get on the fucking face, get on the ground, get on the ground. He's struggling with them. They're fighting with him. They get him on his knees. He's like, I'm on the ground. They say, get down on your face. Put your hands behind your back. And no, I don't. What am I doing? I want to go home. He won't do it. He's resisting. This is the definition of resisting. He understands that to lay down and put his hands behind his back, he's arrested. He doesn't want to do that. Ergo, he's resisting arrest. Now remember, boys and girls, they got out of the car, the one that they showed. They don't explain why he did what he did. They don't show that part for some strange reason. You'd think the cops would do that, but no, they don't. They got out of the car, guns drawn. So they're already pissed. And now he's pissing them off more. Lesson to young people out there. Take it from me. I've been there. Yes, I'm white. I'm not black. I have had run-ins with cops. One time, I was with a friend of mine in my TR6, getting arrested. I was about to be released. I was talking to him. I live right there. I mean, like, I pull over in front of my house. And there's one cop car, but there's 2 cops in the cop car who pull me over. But I'm right there, and I convince him I'm right there. Take my keys. I'll pick him up at the police office tomorrow. I'm not going anywhere. He was about to fucking do that. My friend, top is down the TR6, jumps up, Gary, and goes, run! And he jumps out of the fucking car. Gary was drunk. And I wasn't totally sober either. And he jumps out, but his foot catches the fucking edge. Catches the edge of the door. Because he tries to jump over the door. Like some Dukes of Hazzard shit. He goes, run! Looking at me. And me and the cop were in front of the cop car. Side by side. Looking at him like this. And he jumps and catches his edge of his toe on that. And he just goes, pow! Face first in the sidewalk. And busts himself up. The other cop just walks over and puts his knee on the back of him and handcuffs him. And the cop that I was talking to slams me on the fucking hood of the car. I go to jail. When we get to the fucking jail, instead of going into the area where the fucking gates were, they just get out on the side of the road in front of the fucking jail, Rockingham County Courthouse, Rockingham County Police Station, or whatever it is. And Gary, handcuffed, gets a minute where the cop isn't actually in contact with him, and goes, "Run!" And his dumb fucking white ass, with this fucking bleach blonde hair and a stupid rat tail coming down. This is the fucking 80s, I think it was. Takes off running down the sidewalk. It's 3 a.m, whatever. We had closed some fucking bar. He's running. And he's not an athlete. And the cops and I look at each other, and then one of the cops goes and just tackles him, and his face goes pow into the fucking sidewalk again. I tell you that so I can tell you this. We have 2 different fucking approaches. And again, I was very young. I wasn't all mushy mouth. I wasn't like, "Oh, yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir." Fuck that shit. But I had the wherewithal to understand. Try to talk your way out of it. Dickhead does what he does. Okay. Now I got to go with this other reality that's going to have to unfold for a while. But that's the way it goes. Gary, on the other hand. Now, true, they didn't kill him. Later, they arrested him at one point in time. And they took his, when they were putting him in the car, he was handcuffed. They grabbed him by his bleach blonde hair and his fucking stupid ass rat tail in the back. They grabbed him by that and they said, "Watch your head when you get in the car." Bam! And he hit his face on the fucking edge of the fucking roof of the car. And they broke his nose right here. Because of what he had done before. He had a reputation. Moral of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, understand that you're not going to get away. You're not going to... Tyree left his fucking vehicle at the fucking... He panicked. Finish the story. Tyree doesn't want to go down on his fucking face and put his hands behind his back because that means he's going to be going to jail and he just wants to go home. So he struggles. He gets to his feet, literally shoves them off, and takes off running. Much like Gary. The only difference was Gary was handcuffed and Gary was shit-faced drunk. Big difference. Tyree gets away from them. He goes about the 3 miles down the road to right about where he's going to make the turn and go 2 blocks and there's Mom's house. Home. That's where they caught up with him. And that's where they made him pay for what he did. You don't make cops run. They don't like that. They're already pissed off at him to start with. And now they're reminded that they're not young and athletic and fast anymore. And they feel like you don't respect their authority. And so they will make him pay, which is what they did. And as they were making him pay on the ground, several of them, one of them decides to give him an old spritz of the fucking bear mace shit. The genius spritzed himself. And so there's a part of the video where he has to walk away from the beating that's taking place over here and wrestling the poor guy, calling for his mother because he thinks 2 blocks away she might hear him at 8:30 in the evening. Cop with the fucking spritz hurts himself is over at the car, then he decides to pull his baton out and come back over and give the guy a few whacks because now he's even more pissed off. Rightly so, all 5 of those fucking officers have been fired and arrested. And they will have a lovely time in prison. Trust me when I say this. That's where the scene pretty much ends. But to try to come out and say, he didn't resist, he didn't do anything, after what the video clearly shows you happened, and again, they're not telling you why a police officer gets out of his car, pulls a gun on somebody immediately. They don't do that. Trust me, I know. They have to have a reason for deploying deadly force, or the potential of deadly force. Whatever happened, in all likelihood, he pissed him off because he didn't fucking pull over immediately, which will, once they get to you, result in them getting out of the car and pulling a gun immediately. Now, I say that as well, having another example of when I had 9 cops, almost 10 cops, all pull their guns on me simultaneously on a Monday morning. To tell you very briefly, I had money issues, was working, doing some draftsman a long time ago in Tampa, and had changed 5 to an 8 with a Sharpie on my fucking sticker, registration sticker. That's all I did. Because I needed more time to get fucking money together to fucking... And it was only 2 weeks overdue or some shit. But like a dumbass, I had taken a Sharpie and changed a 5 to an 8. That was it. That's all I did. But then I needed gas to get to work, and so I pulled into what was then a Hess. And at the time, unbeknownst to me, Hess had the contract with all the state fucking cops and the city cops and the county cops. So when I pulled in to get gas at this... There were like 12 pumps, 3 rows, 4 in line each, right? I'm in the middle, and someone pulls in behind me, and the next thing I know is, get out the car. Now that guy pulls his gun on me, right behind me, because I had pulled in, and then a cop pulled in and noticed I had changed a 5 to an 8 on my registration. The stickers again. But because I was at a Hess and every other fucking customer there was a cop on his way to work, when one cop pulls a gun on somebody, all cops have to pull a gun on somebody and get into the act. And so I'm sitting there and looking around in my little car, and there are 3 over here, 4 over here, 1 or so back here behind me, all with their guns trained on me for changing a 5 to an 8 with a magic marker. So I understand that he's not a criminal just because they got out of the car and they pulled a gun on him. However, something had to have happened. Don't know what. Point is, obviously, the BBC article was bullshit. He didn't resist. That's the definition of resisting. He resisted arrest to the point where he stood back up, refused to get down, refused to put his hands behind his back, wrestled himself free, and ran the fuck away. He was resisting the process of being arrested, ergo he resisted arrest. The big crime that he committed, which cost him his life, was magically fucking turning the bear mace spray in the other direction and hitting the guy who had sprayed him or tried to spray him with it. Somehow or another, he was guilty of that, which is why that piece of shit wanted to beat him with his fucking baton, and did. in fact, hit him with his baton. Why are they doing that? Why release this stuff at 7 p.m. on a Friday? When I saw these stories, I couldn't help but think of something that I covered a lot back in the day. And that was what happened at Benghazi. Back in those days, we had regime changed Libya, killed illegally Muammar Gaddafi, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. Was it Macron from fucking France? And we were, again, neoliberalizing it. They had a bunch of social things that they wanted to fucking privatize, and it was a boom for French business, for American business, and especially the banking industry. Do away with the Green Revolution and then just chop it all up and with savage capitalism and free marketeers. It was awful. But there was a resistance developing. There still is, by the way. The southern fucking quarter of the nation, no one really talks about anymore. They just talk about the two competing factions up top. One with Haftar, who's run by the CIA, and one who's probably going to be fucking run by, or certainly being run by, Gaddafi's son. But at the very bottom of the country, for some reason they have that in green color. There's a reason for green. Because it is run still by people loyal to Gaddafi and to how the country was run before. Now, all that said, they had a problem. They were losing control of the glorious fucking profit-making industry that was our regime change in fucking Libya, and they had to re-engage. But they couldn't re-engage simply because Libyans wanted their country back. We learned that lesson with fucking Iraq. And the General Military Councils for the Iraqi revolutionaries. And then, of course, the ISIS creation. And then allowing us to go bomb the shit out of people who wanted their fucking country back in Iraq. Well, same thing was happening in Libya. And so they needed, like the fake beheading videos in Iraq from ISIS, they needed something to happen that would give them the ability to go in carte blanche. And not just Libya, by the way, but there's a growing resistance in North Africa, across North Africa. And they wanted to bring in drone strikes and get away with doing all that. And so they created the Benghazi event. Now, I've covered the shit out of Benghazi. I mean, good God. A lot of it you can find, well, not nearly enough of it. But if you go to my Nomadic Everyman page and you look up the label Benghazi on the right-hand side down here, you will find a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to read any of it to you, but there's tons and tons of stuff to do, to look at. Also, I think it's also on my Substack page. A lot of my old writing, including Killing Strangers, which I think is one of the best things I've done. Killing Strangers, Benghazi, and the Blumenthal Trio. Let me make things a little more clearer for you. We had put in place, and tons of officials in Libya were saying this right after the event, talking about this. We were putting in place assets in and around Benghazi for some reason. When the event took place, the surprise attack on our CIA consulate in fucking Benghazi, surprise. the police had come in and cordoned off the whole fucking area. They blocked all the roads. Hours before it happened. Hours before it happened. I think the prime minister that we installed in Libya, then we got rid of him, he came out afterwards and said he had seen them setting up something a month in advance and knew they were setting up for something to take place a month in advance. They used the February 17th Brigade, I believe is what it was, which was a terrorist group that we used to destabilize Libya until we could blow them up, until we could kill fucking Gaddafi. We used the February 17th Brigade. That's the guy, the famous picture of him standing there with his fucking, skinny jeans and holding a fucking AK-47 in front of the burning Benghazi with a professional photographer there to take the picture. They needed Benghazi in order to justify President Peace Prize and Hillary Clinton re-engaging in fucking Libya and bombing the shit out of the Green Revolution, who had nothing to do with it. In order to get the 17th Brigade to come out and do this, they needed a justification for it. And what they came up with was a video that had been sitting in FBI vault for 2 years, made by, Jesus, what his fucking name is. Made by Nicola Basili Nicola, who was an FBI informant. Nicola Basili Nicola made a film after being busted for manufacturing crystal meth and bank fraud and then violating his fucking probation. He was fucked. And he was federal. Bank fraud is federal. So they went to Nicola Basili Nicola and they asked him to produce a film for them called Innocence of Bin Laden. Now, that might seem odd to you, but what they were doing back in those days was setting up all these honeypots, trying to see if they could find radicalized Muslims who would potentially do something in the United States. And they knew, or they thought they had a bunch of mosques in LA. And so what they thought was, some of these mosques have radicalized terrorists in them. So he made this stupidly insulting film called The Innocence of Bin Laden. And they slapped it together with Nicola Basili Nicola, who would later be known as Sam Basile, as in imbecile. Get it? Very humorous. And they showed it in LA at this bullshit little fucking theater, and they ran around to all the mosques and all the stores that sold food and items and things that the transplanted or the Muslim community would want to have. They put these flyers up and these posters up. The Innocence of Bin Laden, hoping to get Muslims to show up at the theater for this one-time viewing of this groundbreaking film. Now remember, this is the FBI doing this. The FBI set up shop across the street to take pictures of all these radicalized Muslims who would show up. You know how many showed up? 0. That's not me doing the fucking... Someone's going to take a screenshot of that and go, Scott's fucking white supremacist. 0 showed up. None. Zip. Zilch. And all of that is covered. Well, that's the Green Revolution one. But all of that is covered on my thing on this. Okay? Long video, long article. I do believe this one was, in fact, one of the ones that I put up on my Nomadic Everyman channel, our website. Okay, so this goes into his past fucking and current legal problems. The video did not return any of their investment Now, this is some San Francisco Chronicle. I'm not making this shit the fuck up. This was a big story back then, trying to understand who Sam Basile was. Turns out he was Nakula Basile Nakula. Okay? Are we with me so far? Good. Their honeypot trap netted 0 fucking fish. So the film was not in possession of Nakul Basile Nakula Basile Bakula, or Sam Basile. It was in possession of the feds. The feds had it. Out of the blue, a year and a half later, someone posts The Innocence of the Muslims, the same film, different title, on a YouTube channel. Hours later, the February 17th Brigade attacks Benghazi. And all that shit happens. A long time before that, though, they were blocking off the streets. A month before that, they were laying the groundwork and bringing people in and getting the 17th Brigade ready, according to the Prime Minister that we put in place in Libya. Are you with me so far? What they needed was some plausible explanation for why, out of nowhere, the February 17th Brigade went crazy and attacked Benghazi. They needed justification. And they got the justification by way of an article written by somebody who now runs around and leads up one of these great networks of alt-left journalists. He pens an article and puts it up on his fucking website hours after the fucking February 17th. He didn't live in fucking Libya. Hours after the February 17th Brigade launched the beginning of their attack. Their attack went on for like 6-7 hours. It was still going on when this thing was published, stating that the reason these radical... He doesn't mention the February 17th Brigade because we already knew that they had association with us. It took years to find that out. Well, it didn't take me years to find that, but it took mainstream years to find that out. He posted this thing saying Muslims were angry and protesting because of this video that came out, The Innocence of the Muslims, which is so insulting. That had nothing to do with Libya. Nothing at all. And somehow or another, this individual, this journalist, knew this happened, and somehow or another, Hillary Clinton got a hold of the article on his bullshit little blog that explained the whole thing to everybody and said, see, look at that journalist right there. He knows what it's all about. He knows what started it. It was the fucking Innocence of the Muslims video. The Innocence of the Muslims video was supposed to be put out by Jewish people and this, that, and the other. Nakuli Basili bin Nakuli is a Coptic fucking Christian from Egypt, or Greece, Egypt. And a guy who makes crystal meth. And a guy who made it for the FBI, and the FBI had it in their possession. Nakuli Basili Nakuli did not. So it had to come from the FBI. Who was it? Who was it that provided them, Hillary Clinton, the justification? Guy by the name of Max Blumenthal's father, Sidney Blumenthal, has been a Clinton acolyte, bagman, hitman, fixer, almost his entire fucking career. He was associated with the Clinton regime from the 90s, and of course he's always been associated with the Clintons. Sidney Blumenthal had been in Benghazi for a month. Remember what the fucking Prime Minister of Libya that we installed said had been happening for a month in Benghazi. He had a guy with him named Tyler Drumheller. What was Tyler Drumheller's previous profession? He was a guy who ran around for the State Department. Hillary was in the State Department, organizing proxy armies and color revolutions. Interesting fact. Tyler Drumheller, who was with Sidney during the setup in the lead up to Benghazi and during while Benghazi was taking place, was supposed to testify before the Benghazi Commission. He got a very fast-acting case of cancer and died within 2 weeks before he could testify. That's Tyler Drumheller. I guess he couldn't be counted on to keep his mouth shut. In Killing Strangers, I explain how Sidney Blumenthal was involved in the setting up of the events that took place in Benghazi. If you believe those 4 individuals actually died, and I believe most of them did, but I'm curious about the individual who supposedly, here's that picture I told you about. There's a picture. Stevens. Not so sure about him. However, if you believe all 4 of them died, then they are responsible for that. They are also responsible for an attack on U.S. soil, a terrorist attack on U.S. soil. They planned it, they orchestrated it, they found a perfect explanation, an excuse for it, which was the video that came out, supposedly. They got pissed off about the video, and of course, who told them that story? Max Blumenthal. How did Max Blumenthal know about any of this? How did he know about any of that while it was still taking place? How did he know they were pissed off about a video that they couldn't possibly have seen? That had been released, by the way, by the FBI. Well, he couldn't have known that, unless, of course, his father told him. Max Blumenthal, hero of the left, was an accomplice to the terrorist act committed on U.S. soil in Benghazi that was used as justification by the Obama administration to bomb and kill more fucking people. Killing strangers. Benghazi and the Blumenthal trio. The trio, by the way, the third is the other reporter, Chris Blumenthal, who they do all their level best to keep anyone from knowing who they are. I'm sorry, Paul Blumenthal. That's him, not Chris. Paul. My fault. They don't want anyone to know who Paul Blumenthal, because he's still a quote-unquote respected fucking journalist. Why don't I tell you all those fucking stories? Why do I tell you that story? I tell you that story because it's Saturday. I'm wearing the same fucking clothes I have for 3 days. I tell you that story because they're not creative enough to come up with something new. They have a desire to destabilize this country. They have a desire to destabilize the institution of policing. Why? Because they want to privatize it. They want to privatize it. They want to privatize it, and then they want to automate it, and then they want to use AI and have AI fucking robots running around whacking you on the fucking head. That's a fact. But they want to privatize it. But they need to cause destabilization. They need to ratchet up the hostilities between each other, rather than having us look at Davos or whatever, or the fact that they're getting ready to fucking launch World War III, sending fucking all these tanks to Ukraine, while they're just walking, police are just walking down the street in San Francisco and fucking Philadelphia and all these places where people are literally shooting up on the fucking streets. People need help. Fuck them. We're sending tanks to Ukraine so they can eventually act along with German tanks being driven by fucking Nazis to invade Crimea, which is Russia. But don't pay attention to that. We got this shit going on here. There's a lot of reasons why they want to destabilize. I can't tell you because I'm not privy to their fucking backroom deals, but I can tell you this. Antifa is a fucking proxy army. It's a destabilization campaign. It's not legitimate. It's not real. They are. I've shown you the cops running around, the FBI trainees with the white supremacist things and the the white polo shirts and the khaki pants. I've shown you that. Antifa's part of the same animal. They are agent provocateurs. They are black bloc. And they are mobilized all throughout the fucking country. Why? Because you have articles lying to people, telling people there's no resistance. There's no sign of him resisting. Except for the fact that he resisted being put on the ground, resisted being handcuffed, resisted being arrested, got up, pushed him off and ran. They couldn't keep up with him. He got away, and then they caught him 3 miles down the road. That's the definition of resisting. They told you that never happened. After showing you a video where that's exactly what fucking happened. New York Times. No sign that Nichols fought back during Memphis beating. Well, I'm sure he didn't fight back. Absolutely not. He did resist. He certainly didn't deserve what happened. But he did, in fact, resist. And of course, this is covered ad nauseum by Fox, by CNN, by ABC, all of them, shoving this in your face. And of course, they're coming out with this crazy shit. The police who killed Tyree Nichols were black, but they might still have been driven by racism. This is divide and conquer. This is justifying, this is divide and conquer, hoping that they would be able to use this video. And again, why release at 7 p.m. Friday night? This was January the 7th. They could have released it Tuesday in mid-afternoon. What's going to happen? They could have waited till Monday morning. What's going to happen? Friday, 7 p.m. Let's go. Come on, black people, get out there. With Van Jones telling you it's still racism. Now, that aspect of it, that angle of it, hoping that they would get people upset and riled up, what's happened? They had cops on high alert. I saw a fucking video from L.A. It wasn't Memphis. It was L.A. And they had sent a reporter to the scene. And the reporter on the scene, this is last night about fucking 8 p.m., reporter on the scene was like, oh yeah, we had about 50 people. They showed 3. And they had all these cops out there. And they, I swear to God, they showed one thing. It reminded me of that scene from the Blues Brothers at the end where all the cops, and the Chicago PD did this. They were the ones involved, and they sent the cops out there, and they sent the team because they were in on the joke, and they were making fun of themselves. Back in those days, our police officers would actually do that shit because it was a film about Chicago with good music, and great fucking Aretha Franklin and all these people, all these band members and musicians, it would be good for Chicago. And it was. But at the end, they had this thing where the two guys, all they wanted to do was make a payment, to keep this fucking orphanage going, or whatever the fuck it was, to a city to a city office. It was just fucking Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi. And man, they had all these fucking cops. They must have had 400 cops for this scene where they come, they're coming down the fucking building, hut, 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 hut. They had like 90 of them come down on rappelling down this fucking thing. Hut, 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 hut. They had them jumping out of the back of SWAT vans. Hut, 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 hut. And they were in on the joke, and they were making fun of themselves. These were the actual police. They weren't fucking, these were actual police doing this for Chicago. They were in on the joke, and they were making fun of the fact that they overreact sometimes. And this was 400 cops for these two fucking dudes who weren't even fucking violent. They were just trying to pay a bill. That's what happens. What's happening now? The video I saw from L.A. shows these guys, there's 50 or 51 protesters here. There were 3. And one guy, this fat kind of white dude, because I don't want to claim him, but this fat dude comes running up, literally doing that to nobody. The camera's there, and so and there's a couple others who are running up to take positions with him. But this guy is just, and there's nobody there. That's what the cops all around the country were doing last night. Hoping against all hope that they were going to get something. And they got nothing that I know of at the time. And that's reassuring, the fact that there was nothing. However, because they just want to, they keep pulling our strings. They think they can, these people are all, these assholes are all run by these fucking ad exec geniuses who think they're the real power behind government and control. And they can pull people's strings. This was a target of opportunity. And so they had the guy wait until 7 p.m. on a Friday to release the videos. The police chief is African American, by the way, in Memphis. It's his choice. They waited till 7 p.m. and they hyped it all up. And it turns out what happened to Tyree Nichols was just fucking horrible, and it's a tragedy. And the adults in the room, the officers, should have known better. And the adults in the room have been fired and arrested, and they damn well should have been. And they are going to have a glorious time when they go to fucking prison. They'll be walking around with some big motherfucker holding onto his fucking belt loop and washing his fucking dirty, soiled underwear with their teeth in the toilet. With their shirts tied around in a knot on their stomachs. That's what's going to happen to them. And they deserve every fucking despicable, disgusting, humiliating minute that they got coming to them for what they did to that young man. But to pretend that he didn't fucking resist is a lie. And when you have so many lies being presented about a story when they had the video and could see the videos themselves, then you know something else is up. And here's what I fear is up. They wanted to create an atmosphere like Innocence of the Muslims, where they could stage something with Antifa and use the video of what happened to Tyree as justification. It's still a possibility. It's a long weekend. I certainly hope I am wrong. But to be honest, because I know that these people they have doing these things and coming up with these plans are so limited in their fucking creativity, and capacity for original thought. I guarantee you some of them look back at what happened back in the day and say, you know what, we could do something similar here. And that's what I fear. Now, before it rains, I'm going to have to get out there, and Bo is telling me I'm done with the videos. Okay, what are you doing? What? What is this? What is this? Am I done? Am I done? Is that it? It's like, all right, you've given the people enough, Godfather. No, I can give them more, Bo. What do you think? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why this all of a sudden? You need a shirt. You need a new shirt. I don't know if you can see him or not. I hope you can. What? Come here. Whenever I say come here, you take off. Why is that? I'm not your bitch. You fuck. You are not going out there to see him. You are not going out there to see him. Come here. Let me kiss. Ow, ow. Give me a kiss. All right. He's destroying my computer with his tail. Yeah, guys. I didn't need that computer. Don't worry about it. Okay, there you go. And the Bo bonus. What else could you want on a Saturday morning? I really hope that I am wrong. And it is a possibility that since there was very little, if any, fucking turnout to their fucking kickoff of the spring of fucking discontent, I certainly hope that they're going to have to rethink their plans. But I can't help but think that's just bizarre that they would choose to do that. And again, here we are Saturday, and the world is not burning, and I guess then we are not as easily manipulated as they might think we are. Or at least the I can't claim the African American community is not as easily manipulated as they think the African American community is. When you want to talk about some fucking racism inherent in the system, I guarantee you the vast majority of people who came up with that conclusion, except for the fact that the chief of police is African American in Memphis, but he was probably just following orders. The people who came up with these plans, I guarantee you, aren't black. So you can look at it that way as well. But that's a deeper dive. Anyway, I thank you for your time. Have a good Saturday, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.